Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first one is titled, Abrasive Lady Parks in Front of Friend's House, Friend Gets Creative. A friend of mine recently bought a house. His hobby is pouring silly amounts of money into marginally awesome old cars, and right now he's got a well-used Alfa Romeo 75 on blocks in his driveway. Thus, he parks his daily driver on the street. There is plenty of parking on the street, as nearly everyone parks in the driveway, but every few days this woman with a Playboy sticker on the windshield of her white 90s Mustang parks right in front of his house before he gets home from work. One day, he pulls up behind her right as she's getting out of her car. He says, "Excuse me, ma'am. I was wondering if you would mind not parking in front of my house. I like to park here." She responds with tons of attitude, "This isn't your parking spot. You don't own the street." He's annoyed at her being rude for no reason, but wanting to get his way, he keeps calm and says, "I know. It's just there's plenty of parking on this street. I'm asking you as a favor." "Yeah? Well, I don't know you, and I'll park wherever I want. Get rid of that pile of trash and park in your driveway if it's so important to you." To be fair, the Alfa does look like a pile of trash, but still this woman was pretty unbelievable. Thing is, my friend works in private security, and has contacts in the local PD. He calls his buddy, and asks her to run the lady's plates, getting her address. Then he waits. She continues to park in front of his house, but he doesn't make it home from work early enough to actually see her. A couple of weeks later though, the stars align, and he is out getting his mail when she pulls up. He walks over to her, and says, "Excuse me. I just wanted to ask you again to park somewhere else. Just 15 feet forward. I'd really appreciate it. Look butthole, I'm going to park here, because it's across the street from my friend's house. Deal with it." Her friend is a skeezy douche who inherited a nice house from his dad, and proceeded to neglect it until it was the street I saw. "Listen lady, this really isn't cool. It's not like I come to 123 Example Lane and park in front of your house." Her eyes got really wide and she immediately got back in her car and moved it down the block. He hasn't had any trouble with her since. The next one is titled, You Need to Speed Up. Backstory. My job figured out how to get production up by offering bonuses for production. How they did this is they set a monthly monetary goal. If the goal was hit, they would split the profit with all employees. When the thing that shall not be named kicked off, my job did not shut down. What happened was sometime between a week and a month, I don't remember exactly, before it started, upper management decided they would change the bonus from monthly to yearly. So everyone was upset about that. On to the story. Now my boss is fine as a boss. He shows respect to the employees and the employees respect him. However, he is a little high-strung, so to speak. He knew it was bull that they took the bonus, but what can he do? Cast. Me, I wonder who. Super, person over the floor. Dave, Super's boss, my boss. This will be paraphrased. Dave, we have orders that need to go out. So speed up for me please. Me, okay, the speed I was running was fast enough to where the guy who was helping me couldn't keep up because he was by himself. I would help when I could, but I had to do my own job. A couple days pass and I'm running the same thing in the same situation again. Dave, we have orders, go faster. Me, why? Dave, because there are orders that are going out today and tomorrow that need to go out. Me, and I care why? I don't get anything for it. Dave, well, the company does better. Me, okay, I guess he took that as an agreement that I would go faster and walked away. So the next day or the day after. Dave, every day I tell you to go faster and you run the same speed. If I gave you more help, would you go faster? Me, more help would be good. I explained my helper can't keep up and I can't constantly help him. Dave, okay, I'll see what I can do. I get my help and I speed up a bit. Next day I'm back down to the single helper and back down to a slower speed. Dave, we need to speed up. Me, well, I don't have as many helpers as yesterday, so there is no point in me going faster. He walks away and comes back later. Dave, we need to speed you up. I was so irritated with at this point I turn and shout at him, I am paid by the hour. Meaning I get the same no matter how fast or slow I run. Dave, I know. This took place over a week. On the Thursday or Friday of the week the malicious compliance happens. Dave, we have orders, speed up. Me, okay. He walks away. My machine can go pretty fast but we don't take it to full speed. You can see where this is going. I speed it up to full. The material is not able to handle the speed and rips. I have to retread the entire machine, which slows me down. Dave comes out. Dave, what happened? Me, I speed it up. Dave, how fast? Me, full. Dave, what? Why would you do that? Me, you said go faster, I went faster. He walks away and a few minutes later Super walks up. Super, hey, we have a meeting with Dave. Me, okay. As we're walking to the office, what's the meeting about? Super, what do you think? Me, fair point. In the meeting room. Dave, what's your deal this week? Me, every day you tell me I need to speed up. That everything I run is important and needs to go out. Well, if everything is important then nothing really is. Dave, you know better than going that fast. You did that to be a smart butt. Me, yeah, I'll give you that I was being a smart butt. Dave, what's wrong? Me, it's bull that this pandemic kicks off they take bonuses and then say we need to go faster for no return. You know it too. Dave looks to Super. They say this speed, I don't remember what speed, is as high as you should go. He no longer tells me to speed up anymore though. So, some clarifications. I have been there and the boss has changed 5 times since I've been there. So my boss changed 5 times. Super is not technically my boss. He tells me what to do and I do it, but that's because he is a go-between. The reason everyone was mad they took the bonus is before we started getting the bonus we got nothing. Even though we had hit the goal several times. They would tell us we hit the goal and still not give us anything. The only reason we started getting something is because boss number 4 went to a company closer to his home for more money. Before he left he went into the owner's office, sat down and told him it wasn't right. He had to look employees in the eye and say, the company had a record month last month. We are going to feed you pizza for it. When asked about money he would say, we are getting pizza for lunch. Last thing, every hourly employee there respected the hell out of number 4 before he did that. So, him trying to make things better before leaving made him all the better. The next one is titled, More Malicious Compliance at Ford Motor Company. A story from Dad's many years working at Ford. This was actually uncovered by my dad and he had a hand in fixing the situation. After my old man moved up from being an entry-level clerk at Ford, he was posted to scheduling. This, as the name suggests, was the division that scheduled parts to be made for the next day's work on the production line. Stopping the line was bad, $4,000 a minute kind of bad, so you did not want to run out of parts. One day, Dad was called into the manager's office and given a verbal bashing by the boss. The production line was out of parts. Certain brackets had not been painted and therefore could not be installed. Dad was sure he had scheduled these parts to be finished by the afternoon and evening shift, but thought nothing of it. Maybe there was an error, so he got them done by the day shift. Several weeks later, this happened again, and again. Dad pointed out that he had scheduled these brackets to be finished by the afternoon and evening shift. But the boss didn't want to hear it. Accounts had informed him that afternoon and evening shift were doing extremely well. This was scheduling problem as far as he was concerned and Dad had to fix it. Wondering what on earth was going on, Dad went down to the floor. Looking around, he found boxes upon boxes of those little lights in your dash that light up for engine check, or headlights, etc. There were tens of thousands of these things sitting in the warehouse. Upon further investigation, Dad found out that each production step and each part was assigned a value by accounts. He still has no idea how they came up with this value. The brackets that Dad was scheduling to be finished each time stocks were low, had a very low number and took some time to finish properly. However, the little lights were very easy to manufacture and had a high value assigned to them. Accounts determined the efficiency of production by how many parts they made in a shift multiplied by the assigned value of said parts. If production finished the parts that Dad scheduled to be done, their efficiency went down and the production managers got a kick in the butt because the number on the paper said they were doing a bad job. So to stop this, they ignored the schedule of parts to be made and just made these little lights that made them look great in the eyes of management whenever they had to finish these brackets. Never mind that it was stopping the production line every time they failed to finish the parts required, at $4,000 per minute. In the eyes of management, production was doing a great job because the number on the paper said so. This had been going on for years, and it took Dad months of effort to get management to evaluate production on their work to the schedule rather than this value system made up by accounting. The next one is titled, "Don't Use Frosting on the Desserts?" Yes, sir. This is my father's story from many moons ago. My dad, who we'll call Fred, was a sheriff's deputy at our county jail. His job was primarily to cook meals for the inmates and on-duty officers, which is really what he loved to be doing. He enjoyed finding what was in the kitchen and making it really good. The inmates all knew his schedule and looked forward to him being in the kitchen, because they knew it would be better than your average school lunch. One day my dad was working on dinner and he had made Rice Krispie treats for dessert. He found a thing of frosting on the shelf and put the frosting on top of the Rice Krispie treats. Couldn't hurt to put more sugar on them, right? As he was finishing up and getting ready to serve the meal, the sheriff walked into the kitchen to pick up his food. The sheriff, your classic macho law enforcement buffoon, looks at the Rice Krispie treats and looks at my dad. "Are these for dessert?" "Yep. I found some frosting on the shelf, decided to improve on the recipe." "Those locked-up idiots don't need frosting on their Rice Krispie treats, Fred. Next time, don't put frosting on their dessert." "Yes, sir," Dad said. The next time he was making dinner, Dad made Rice Krispie treats again. He had liked his previous version, and decided to keep improving on the recipe. So he put the frosting in the Rice Krispies, mixed it right in with the marshmallows and the cereal. He had delivered the sheriff his meal that evening. "Let me know what you think of those Rice Krispies this time, boss." "Those look good, Fred." "Thanks." He has since improved on this recipe so much that he gets requests to make them for weddings he's invited to. Necessity is the mother of invention. Those dang Rice Krispie treats are responsible for the expansion of my waistline. The next one is titled, "Hair Too Long for Dress Code." A few years ago, I was a department manager for a large conference center. I ran the top-performing department, as determined by guest feedback surveys, by a large margin. Like, no other department out of 1,200 employees was even close. And my dress style was always nice and professional. Dress code didn't say we needed to have on button-up shirts and ties, but I did it anyway because I looked great and professional, and I met with the leaders of large conferences multiple times per day. I dressed to impress. They were my clients, and whatever their problem was, I was going to fix it. My demeanor and professional attire did great things to alleviate their concerns. My bosses got on a dress code kick for some reason. They made me and my small department, 6 people total, start wearing lame colorful standardized shirts with a logo on front. The rationale was that the clients should be able to identify me as a staff member. I get the logic, but that was what my lanyard and name badge were for. Plus, the bright, colorful dress code shirt was actually detrimental to my work, as I often work backstage as a tech during band performances. Industry standard color for techs is black. But they wanted me to wear bright yellow. Okay. I tell them my concerns for my shirt's bright colors being a distraction for the audience as I do work backstage. My bosses don't care. They made up a new dress code and want me to follow it. Fine. So I wear the shirt. But then I also wear a nice sweater vest, or just a vest, on top it. Still got my tie on. I like ties. But to make it explicitly clear I'm staff, I get my own hat made, at my own expense too, that shows the company's name on it. Again, my badge and lanyard are always visible. But now I can do my backstage work without being a distraction to the audience that might glimpse my movement as I go about doing scene changes, etc. But then my bosses tell me that the company's logo has to be visible on my shirt, and I therefore can't wear a vest. So then I get the company's logo embroidered on my shirt's sleeve, also at personal expense. Problem solved, right? I'm wearing the shirt they gave me and the company's logo is visible. At this point, my boss is upset and is trying to write me up for any possible infringement of company policies. I know how to read a room, and I immediately start going to the HR director to approve of my new and evolving malicious compliances of this ever-changing dress code policy. My boss says that we can't wear hats. Okay, fine. My hair is visible for all to see, and I quickly become aware of the next thing my bosses are going to tell me to fix. My hair. They're going to cite some vague language in the employee handbook about hair length. So I go to the HR director preemptively and ask for clarification for hair length. After a 10-minute conversation, we both agree that I am perfectly fine with nothing to worry about. My hair is nice, in a bun, and looks good. It's well kept and stylish, and my specific clientele actually really like it because they're mostly hipsters anyway. But my bosses don't see it that way. They say that my hair is too long and needs to be cut. I ask them how long is too long. I am, after all, a rule follower and will obey the rules. One of my bosses, a woman with long hair that is actually against dress code because it's not put up into a bun, says that my hair should be less than shoulder length. My hair was in a man bun. I ask her if that policy extends to women as well. She says no, obviously, that this dress code only applies to men. Apologetically and feigning ignorance, I ask her to show me where it says that in the employee handbook. She shows me the section where it says that if the hair is longer than shoulder length, regardless the gender, it should be kept in a bun. I tell her that my hair is in a bun, as opposed to hers. Oh man, now it's getting real. I just called them out. They're not happy. My other boss, a guy with super short hair, less than 1/4 inch long, tells me that as a guy, my hair shouldn't touch my shirt's collar. He tells me that a few stray hairs of mine are touching my collar. I pull out my phone and take a picture of him. I show him that even his 1/4 hair is touching the collar, his head was leaned back and his hair was touching his collar. I ask him again to clarify how long is too long, because his 1/4 hair is too long for their standards. Side note, I love my thick hair. Someone telling me to cut it arbitrarily speaks fighting words. Then they tell me that I just need to do what I'm told because it's company policy, and if I don't do it, they'll get HR involved. I tell them I already got HR involved, and the HR director explicitly told me that my hair was perfectly fine. But these two bosses of mine just wouldn't let it go. They had to go after my hair. They told me that since I'm a manager and meet with group leaders, I have to go above and beyond what the dress code says, and I have to act professional in order for us to receive good guest feedback regarding professionalism. I tell them that me and my department are already the most professional and highest rated department according to guest feedback surveys. I take the printout of the survey results out from my bag because I anticipated my lack of professionalism was going to be questioned and had it printed in advance, and I show them the survey. They read it, toss the paper aside, and tell me to cut my hair or be written up. Fine. The next day, I come into work with a shaved head. They never told me to cut my hair again, because I look far worse with no hair. Coincidentally, they also let me wear my hat again, haha. But only because my shaved head was a sore sight as a point of interest. When I resigned from my position a year later, I submitted to HR my 80-point paper why my two bosses caused me to leave the organization. How they stifled me and my department from doing legitimately good and quality work, and how I felt that under their leadership, I was incapable of ever winning. A month after I left, I heard from a friend and previous coworker who was still at the company that my direct boss was forced to retire, and my other boss was fired. My friend told me that they were privy to a conversation held between the CEO and my female boss, the one who was fired, and my friend overheard the CEO say, "Your time here at this company is over. And I want you to know, that when you're gone, your position will not be filled. Consider you and your position eliminated." Lastly, I haven't cut my hair since I left, apart from occasional trims. It's now almost 3 feet long, and I plan on giving my gorgeous lion's mane away to some charity that deals with making wigs for kids. The next one is titled, "Here's Your Damn Ice." This happened last year on Christmas Day. My wife and I were visiting her brother for Christmas, and after all of the festivities were done we wanted to eat. They did not really feel like cooking, so we found out that McDonald's was open. Well, after we pulled up to the glorious double arches of gold, we went inside and ordered our food. They were super busy and the wait times were pretty bad. I offered to wait for the food since my brother-in-law had his 3 daughters that wanted to play in the playhouse. As I was waiting, I kept noticing a lot of ice on the floor. As I continued waiting, I noticed it was 2 teenage girls throwing the ice, about 17 and 14 years old. They were giggling and carrying on. I ignored it until one pelted me in the head. I got my food and as I walked by and looked them dead in the eyes, quit throwing the ducking ice. They stopped. We enjoyed our meal and time together. As I was leaving, we filled our drinks up and left. As we were walking to the cars, the two girls from pulled up to me in a Mustang. The younger one leaned her head out the passenger window and said, "Sorry about the ducking ice." My sister-in-law, without even giving me a chance, "Sorry about the ducking ice, bitch," and empties her large soda right in the girl's face. They both drive away with the girl in screaming tears. We laughed about it the entire night. The last one is titled, "The Perils of the Butt Dial." My ex is a compulsive hoarder. If you don't know what that is, or haven't seen A&E or TLC US cable channels for the last few years, hoarding is the inability to dispose of objects, and the accumulation of objects to the point where it negatively affects one's life and the life of one's family. My ex is also an alcoholic, and cheated on me with 4 different guys. To make a long story short, we have an ugly custody battle. I think it's going to be a slam dunk, and it turns out not to be. The court's by her, I have problems, but I'm getting help routine. We end up splitting custody 50-50. My ex, from my perspective, is thumbing her nose at me and the courts. She shows up to pick up our kid with alcohol on her breath, and her house continues to be an absolute crap hole. Every time I send him with her, I die a little inside. Fast forward a few months, my ex has my kid for the evening. I fall asleep on the couch. I awaken to my phone alerting me to a voicemail at roughly midnight. I listen to it, and it's pretty apparently a butt dial. I hear bar noises, and my ex's drunk voice. I hear a bartender say to my ex, "You've been drinking for a while, huh?" and she gives a slurred reply. I go into full-on freak-out mode. Where is my 10-year-old kid if she is at a bar getting loaded? I call the cops. I go to my ex's front door, knock, no answer. I beat on the door, and the cops shine their car searchlights into her windows, no answer. I text my ex, asking where she is, and where our kid is. She says she's inside her, yeah, right, and you don't see the lights, or hear the pounding? Eventually the cops leave, as they tell me they don't have probable cause to break the door down. 15 minutes after they leave, I see my ex's car pull up. As I approach the car, I see her sitting there, doing nothing. The next thing I know, she puts her face into the steering wheel and passes out. I call the cops back. They return, and get her out of her car. To shorten the story, she eventually gives them her house keys, as she can't operate her own door lock. She's arrested for DUI, and endangering the welfare of children. The cop tells me that he doesn't think the EWOC will stick, but he's willing to charge her with it, and let the DA sort it out. A couple of weeks go by, my ex gets out of jail. I call the DA handling my ex's case, and explain my situation, and what's been happening with my son. I plead with him that both charges need to stick, as the combination of her 2 DUIs, she'd had one earlier that year, and the endangerment charge would turn the tide of my custody fight. Fast forward a few months, my ex has her meeting with the DA and he plays hardball. She has to plead guilty to the DUI and the child endangerment charge, do 90 to 180 days in jail on the DUI, probation on the child endangerment charge. It took a while, but with the help of the charges, I finally won my custody case. I move with my son to a great suburban school, and I've been busily rebuilding my own life and his. My ex sees my son every other weekend, and she has to do so at her parents' house, as her place is still a hellhole. My ex is having difficulty finding work. She just lost her only job since this happened 2 years ago. She has no bank account, doesn't pay child support, and has trouble finding jobs when employers hear of her record. Thanks for listening.